In this video today, we are going to assemble the Dreaming Tree Nativity box card, and I'm going to start by inking up the background panel that goes inside the card with some Distress Oxide. So I'm starting with some broken china and just trying to get a smooth inking onto the panel. And checking to make sure I got enough. The next we're going to do is Mermaid Lagoon. That's a slightly darker value. And I want to concentrate the darkness up near the top. And next is Salty Ocean. And then the darkest value, Blueprint Sketch. And I'm trying to concentrate that mostly on the corners and the very top because that is the darkest value. And I've put a piece of cardstock down there so I don't get any fingerprints because I've got quite a bit of ink now down on the panel. And now I'm going back with some of the lighter colors just to do a final blending to try and get the transitions as smooth as possible. Next, I'm going to take some Fawn Liquid Stardust, and I'm going to dilute it out a little bit with some water. And then I'm going to take a paintbrush, and I'm just going to flick it onto the panel to give me some stars. And then I'll set this panel aside to dry. Okay, now I'm going to put the main panels together. So I'll do one side, glue it together, and then I'll put the pattern paper on the front. And I will start by lining it up at the top and then keep an even border for the rest of it. And then I'll put on the side panel. And I'm going to put off putting on the back panel because I'm going to try and make this a light up card, add a light up element. And so I want to wait until the end of that. I'm just putting it on there just for placement of the side panel. And now I'm checking the fit, and I don't know why that inside panel was not the right size. For some reason it didn't cut out the right size. Now in the options folder, there were some little cutouts that you could make to reinforce those little figures on the background snowfields. And so I used my Xyron sticker maker to put adhesive onto the front of those cutouts, and now I'm gluing it to the back of the figures that are on the snowfield and using my little pokey tool to get rid of any adhesive that just seems to be poking out. And do the same thing with the camels. I put the adhesive on the front of the panels that was from the extras folder. And I'll use my pokey tool again to get rid of any extra. And I'm using my bigger Xyron sticker maker for the Nativity. And this is again from the extras folder. And I put the adhesive on the front of that panel. And I'm just lining it up as carefully as I can. This one's a little more difficult. And for some reason, this back panel didn't quite fit as well as the other ones. But again, I'm using my pokey tool to get rid of any excess adhesive. And this is where the back panel, was parts that were a little bit too big, so I carefully pulled it back and then just cut those pieces off so they don't show from the front. And I'm using some anti-static tool to get rid of any excess adhesive that is coming because this panel didn't quite fit as well and then decided to do the rest with these also, just so that I don't have any adhesive. Now I'm going to put the Nativity right on that front panel, lining up the bottom and then the sides. And so I'm just using some liquid glue to put that on. Now I'll put on the back panel, and at first I tried to center it, but then I noticed that the big star was too high up when I did that. When I closed it, the big star was too high, so I carefully removed it, and I'm going to line it up with the bottom of the panel, even though it leaves some white at the top. In the Dreaming Tree video, assembly video, this panel fit perfectly, so I don't know what was wrong with that. Okay, now I'm just going to glue one side of these hillside panels, with the front one with the flaps facing forward and the back one the flaps facing back. And so I'm just gluing on that one side, and then when I'm ready to assemble the whole thing, I'm just going to glue the other side down flat, but we'll get to that later. Okay, I want to try and make this a light up feature. I have a button battery holder here that has a little on-off switch, and I'll put it about right here, and I am just going to take a pencil and now I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and just carefully cut around this where I drew the pencil line. Alright, now this little switch has got a couple of positive and negatives. This one is a positive, and that's where I'm going to put my line, and this one is a negative. There's also another positive and negative up here that you can send somewhere else, but we're going to use the bottom one. So this one is positive, and this one is negative. Okay, I'm going to use a small blue LED. This is the positive side, and this is the negative side. And I'm going to place that on the inside, so when this is fastened, I want it to be about right here. And so we'll have it maybe about right here. So I'll lay this down here, and I will just draw around it, and I'll also draw the little circles for the positive and the negative. So on the back, this is going to be the negative, so I'll have this be the negative side, and this will be the positive side. So I'll need to make sure that I put my LED on this way, the negative side and the positive side. And let me zoom in. And so the LED will go on here. This is negative and this is the positive. Okay, now I'm going to take some double conductive copper foil tape, and I am going to just lay it down from the positive position on the back to the positive position where the LED is going to go. And so I'm just carefully laying it down, doing separate lines for positive and negative. And now I'll take my bone folder and carefully burnish the tape down. I've got my button battery here, And so I am going to just push this in all the way. And then I'm going to test everything out just by using some bare wire to test out, just make sure the LED is working. Okay, and to connect this, I'm going to use some E6000, and I've also got some wire glue. So I will just turn this over, and I've got a toothpick. I'll open up my wire glue, and I will just put a little bit of the wire glue onto these two fittings. So just like that. And let me get down a paper towel. So I put the wire glue here. And then I'm going to put the E6000 and then we're just going to glue this down. And I'm going to just weigh this down with a block. And something else I'll do is I'll put some Scotch tape to just also hold it down this way. And I'll also put some Scotch tape along the bottom here to help protect it. Okay, now I'm going to carefully turn it over without trying to move the button battery holder at all. And I'm going to put some of the wire glue with the toothpick onto the connectors of the small LED. I'm going to keep very careful note of which side is which. I'm also going to put a little bit of the wire glue onto the strip itself. And then I am going to put my E6000 and the center of it on the bottom. Then I'll use my tweezers to place it onto the connector strips. And then I'm testing it out here, and it seems to be working. Everything is not quite cured yet, but this is just a preliminary test to make sure that nothing is short-circuiting. And then I'm trying to figure out ways. I'm putting some tape over the LED. I need to keep everything in place while everything cures. Okay, and I've got a big clamp here that I've clamped down to get hopefully that good strong hold overnight. Okay, this has been clamped and curing overnight. So I'll go ahead and remove the clamp. And let's see how it did. So this is off, and then I'll turn it on, and it lights up the LED, as you can see. Let's see if I turn off the lights, and you can see the LED. So this is off, and this is on. And for right now, it seems to be on there pretty sturdily, so I'm pleased with how this has turned out. Okay, and here's the final placement of our battery holder with switch. And we've got our conductive tape going under that circle and then up to the LED light that I'm using. And I did it this way because I wanted to be able to, whoever got this, turn it on and off, and also to replace the battery if needed. The other option you can use with these cards is you can just get a separate little tea light and set it on the table behind this arch here. But I chose to try and make this an actual light up card. And so now we're ready to assemble the rest of the card. And first thing we're going to do is go ahead and fold up the cards. So we're going to place our heel panels in position, making sure they're lined up at the bottom. And the way they're positioned, the back panel, the flap is completely open, and the inside panel, the flap is folded over. And then when you put the glue on, that will adhere it to the edge. And now we're going to put the back panel on with some glue and make sure it's centered. And now we'll put some glue on this final flap and fold over the front to make the final sealing. And now our box card is complete. And you can see with the lights off how the LED light in there is going to work. Now I did notice that the back hillside panel for some reason seems to be a little long. Now I used my Cricut foiling tool to add a sentiment. And so that's actually a foiled Merry Christmas that I'm putting onto here. And now it's time to make the envelope. And so that was cut out with 2 pieces. And so I'm going to start by gluing on one of the long ends just to glue the 2 pieces together. And then I'll put some glue on the other 2 flaps and close up the envelope. Okay, and so here's the finished envelope. And you just fold this flat and slide it in. So the recipient would receive it, open it and look around, notice the switch on the back, and decide to turn it on. And then they'll get the glow with the LED lighting. And I thought maybe my cell phone would give a better view of what the LED lighting looks like. So this is with the lighting on. And we'll just turn off the switch. And this is with the LED off. And then we can turn on the switch again. And this is with the LED on. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.